We are red, red is on.
Good evening and welcome to the February 13th, 2020 Tilton Selectmen's meeting. If you all stand to pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Righty. Let's see. We've got some minutes of February 6th to review and approve.
Page 2,
Yes.
under our next last paragraph, can we put payment in lieu of taxes in front of pilot?
Sure.
Because most people will not know what pilot is.
Yeah. All right.
Sufficient police presence. Anybody know why there was so many police at the election?
Miscommunication.
I think it's going to be a big discussion.
Chalk it up.
I was wondering who was patrolling the roads. I mean, at one point I counted 6 of them.
The last one who was
There
patrolling
was
the roads
only
on Saturday night.
2 or 3 on the entire force that were there. 2 I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I wasn't sure if I should be duck and cover. Or were they expecting something?
I was gonna say maybe they had some kind of random threat. I don't know.
Well, at least they were available. Why don't you look at the timesheet and see who was available Saturday night?
I'd like to look
I think they were requested one thing that moderated.
Well, we were supposed to have 3,
Yeah.
but we had like up to, worth of 5, and then the chief showed up, so we had 6 at one time. I was just curious as to what was meant. Maybe they just stopped by on their time. I don't know what.
Oh, no, they weren't on their time.
Well, I'll have to see. Can't imagine that every policeman on the force was on duty that
It was
day.
interesting.
We'll see.
Didn't know if they'd heard something.
Yeah.
She said I requested it.
You wouldn't do that.
Let's just move on. Before we get into it.
On page 2, NextEra Energy, there is nothing in here about comments and questions the selectmen asked. We've got, there evidently was a conversation between the audience and them, but nothing between the selectmen. I think there should be something in there.
Okay.
I know specifically I did ask about the decommissioning and how much it would be.
From the pilot program, I remember Peter had several questions as well, as I recall.
And one of the other things I did too, that we would have to have some other public hearings, because we have a lot of questions.
No.
Doesn't have to be verbatim. I know we're trying to be, keep
Verification.
brevity, but.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as corrected.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as corrected. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay.
Pearson, there's a reason why he's here.
Is Tim here? Okay, we'll go to the next one.
This could be fast.
Hey, Tim, you're up.
Sit where I can pass pass the documents around. I do have a report in your packets, and essentially three things to go over. So the first order is to sign the loan documents for the tax anticipation note. So this is for $3 million for the term of 2020, and it has to be paid back by the end of the year. As you know, we draw this down during the year and repay it as we have tax money. So I'm going to start these around this direction because it does require all 5 signatures on these documents.
What is the interest rate? How much will it cost us to borrow $3 million?
It is 2.3%.
Depends what we borrow, Joe.
No, I get that, but on $3 million, how much is that in money?
2.37%, which is less than what we paid this last year.
Tim, do we need to circle this?
I have no doubt. I just wondered how much it cost me in money.
Oh, no, you don't. Just yeah.
It says authorized.
Right. Say you are authorized.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Times 0.37?
0.237. But you have to keep in mind, Joe, that we don't borrow the entire amount at one time. We only keep it, so we're paying a per diem rate based on what we have borrowed at that point in time.
Yeah.
This last year, I believe we had $16,000 in interest at a higher rate, and during the year we borrowed a total of $4.4 million on a $2.5 million line. So we authorized for $2.5 million, borrowed 2.2, paid it back, borrowed it again, paid it back, and spent
Well,
16.
according to this, if we borrowed the entire $3 million off the wartime, $17,000 is what goes back.
Okay. Yep. That's about right. Which is less than what it would have been.
Yeah.
this last
Yeah.
year.
Sounds like.
And particularly because if you're borrowing $4.4 million, depends on how that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So all the documents are circulating.
And when we have to send the documents to 561 Business Park Drive,
Send them?
sign them.
Sign them. Oh, yes, I do. Well, I also remember having the awkward experience of having to sit to the right of Catherine Dawson at the table when she was signing documents, and I was having to sign the document as well. And I would watch this meticulous signature go down. It became mesmerizing after a while because everything piled up at her station, some 60 abatements of some kind.
Well, and she wants to read all of them, of course.
The last one? Or no, next one. And when we have a new selectman, we'll have to have him fill out paperwork to be an authorized signer and get on the account. So I'll do that after the election. Okay, so that was the good news and the easy part. So originally we intended to have a 10-year note for you as well tonight. So there were problems with this note that it turned out. We had no problem negotiating something with Franklin Savings Bank, but one of the requirements the bank had was to have a tax exempt opinion letter from an attorney. In the past, when, not specifically for this type of note, but when we had other such requirements, say for cruisers, things like that, we had an attorney at the time that would provide that for us and felt comfortable doing it. Unfortunately, it was a little more involved, and so our attorney referred us to a bond counsel, who happens to be the same bond counsel we've been working with on the 2 larger bonds, because they really are the authority in the state. And in going through more of the due diligence on this, and in the last page of my report is an RSA that governs specifically this type of note or bond. And it is specifically for the preliminary expenses of a construction or improvement bond. So on the last page here, you'll see the RSA. And one of the provisions of that is that on its own, it cannot exceed 5 years. So were we to do a note, we can't do a 10-year note, we'd have to do a 5-year. And in addition to that, the only way that we'll be able to borrow and assign that note would be, with Franklin Savings Bank, would be if we were to engage the bond counsel at a rate of some, they gave us a price of $3,500 to $6,000 for that work, for the $194,000, which is not advisable. If one of the bonds passes at town meeting and we include this as part of that, then our fee is going to be somewhere in the $1,000 to $1,800 to add the work that would be required for this one.
For the 5-year.
For the 5-year. So this is where we end up. From the very beginning, I was personally not in favor of doing a separate note, but I was unaware of this particular RSA. So, and I've read 32 many times. 33 I've read less, but I've read, and I don't ever remember this sticking out for me. And in our prior bond warrants, everything has been together. So we haven't had a separate warrant article for the preliminary expenses. So my apologies for the miss on that. And in talking with DRA and the bond counsel last year, it never came up as to, the 5-year provision. So this is what I'm recommending. What I think we should do is simply wait to see what happens at town meeting. If the construction bond passes, first of all, I'm going to get a 5-year quote from Franklin Savings Bank, and I'm also going to ask the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank to revisit the amortization for both the sewer and the police building, adding in this 5-year note. And we can even, some of the concerns that people had at the hearing were, well, gosh, over 20 years we're going to pay, X amount for that $194,000. Well, it can be, through the bond bank, we can say, we want this $194,500 amortized over the first 5 years and get rid of it then, but still continue to have that low interest rate and the 20-year bond.
So there's no prepayment penalty?
With the New Hampshire Bond Bank, there is. Franklin Savings Bank, there is not. So we can't prepay anything with the bond bank. We could choose to use some fund balance or something like that, to offset. But really, where we are, it's best to just let it go. I think the town meeting. If for some reason neither of those bond articles passes, then I will have the quote for the 5-year and know what the principal and interest are. And keeping in mind that we had already modified the operating budget for the 10-year interest and principal payments for 2020, starting in that believe it was April through the end of the year. So all we would have to do is to make a modification to the operating budget if neither of those warrant articles passed, to increase the principal and interest payments by that difference between the 5-year and the 10-year amortization. I'm estimating it's going to be somewhere in the $25,000–$30,000 range we'll be adding to the budget. So to account for that 5 versus 10. So that's kind of where we are with that. It was I'm not happy that we are kind of saddled. This bond council is very good, but I kind of miss the fact that for the price of an hour in the past we could get a tax exempt letter without any fuss, but it would have been wrong in the end. We would have found out later on that this was in violation of that RSA. So I guess it in effect worked out for the best.
So good.
So does that sound like a plan? And I
It's like a plan.
I have to reiterate, discussed last year at town meeting when someone asked, well, how's that going to work? And I did say in front of everyone that once the construction bond comes and once that passes, that we would wrap this into it. So it's totally in keeping with that discussion. The next item is dealing with the warrant article total. Jeannie has an update to your warrant articles, and one of the items is that the math on between the cover page and the details was different. So I've put down here all the background of it. There were 2 errors. One was dealing with the senior center maintenance increase when the budget committee retitled the Grange maintenance line to senior center maintenance. And while it was correctly reflected in the detail, it didn't get picked up on the cover page, and that is totally my fault because in the past I have suffered with trying to get the rounding to work, so that because all the payroll information comes in and it sets, sometimes it'll chunk up department by $1, but on the cover page it won't show that. And so I had, in a prior budget iteration, I had hard-coded in, I'd gone through the budget detail and hard-coded in the numbers on the front, which in the past they had all flowed from the budget detail itself. So that was definitely my fault. But I can tell you that this is the total of what the budget committee approved is exactly what this number is, the 5871010. And I've given you the dates and the meetings, and it's all in their minutes. They never voted on a bottom line budget, and I just simply gave Jeannie the wrong number, thinking that was the right number. So I did let Jane Alden know, who's the budget chair, and I was planning to send an explanation of essentially what I have written here to the budget committee, just so that if they're looking at the budget, that they'll understand what happened. And you do have in front of you, I see Joe has one in front of him, the February 13th copy of the budget, and that is all good. So I did want to bring that to your attention. As I said, Jeannie has it in the for warrant article 10, that total. And then just other things. Mango finished the senior center surveillance installation. Did a great job. We've got to get it hooked up into the dispatch. I've got to do an update there before I can add that one in.
Can we log on? Can I log on now to see that?
You will be able to, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You'll let me know.
Yep. And then the audit's proceeding very well. If you haven't already, you're going to be receiving not only through the internal mail, but you'll be receiving at your home questionnaires on governance and management. And really, this is all about kind of the tone at the top. Do you pressure Jeannie? Do you pressure me to change numbers? Do you have controls in place? Do you feel confident in the printed controls that we have internally, throughout the town? It's all about that sort of thing. So And there are many questions, as you'll see, I think it's 2 or 3 pages long. And then you'll get the related fraud inquiry at home, and that one has questions about, are you aware of any fraud that's taken place?
Is this required?
It's optional. I would highly recommend doing the governance and management one, which has the questions about internal controls, but the other one is pretty much, if you know something, please let us know, and if you don't, there's nothing to turn in on that, the one that will go to your house. I talked to a few of you about the challenges that we face with the trustees, not with the trustees themselves, but with some of their reporting, which we're being required to use the state's portal this year, and it has inadvertently caused a great deal of time spent on my part, and will continue to be until I get their second report done, which is the NS10, and that won't happen until after town meeting. I'm a little bit behind on the town report, but I hope to make that up over tomorrow and this weekend, and we're hoping to submit that next week to the printer. So that's about all I have, unless someone has something for me. Oh, great. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule so far.
Keep it going.
Different, yeah. We have at 5:15 the sewer bond warrant article. Is that some discussion on it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I can.
Public hearing?
No, I had sent Norm an email last week about this, so apparently what happened with the budget committee, I wasn't there, was a vote, there was a motion made to recommend the warrant article. It failed. Then there was a motion made to not recommend. It failed. I had put on the warrant that it was not recommended by the budget committee. I got some feedback that said that wasn't accurate. I checked in with NHMA. They said it didn't pass, so it is not recommended by the budget committee. Further, that it needed we needed to add language to the warrant article so that you could override the 10% rule if the bond passed. So what they suggested was that it said, per the RSA, if the bond request is not recommended in its entirety by the budget committee, the governing body of such municipality, after a majority vote by the governing body of the municipality in favor of the bond request at a duly posted meeting, shall place the bond request on the warrant. And then it goes on to say the language that needs to be added on the front end of the warrant article. You have the latest warrant article with that change, and as Tim mentioned, the other change is the corrected version of the operating budget. So what I need, I guess, I don't know if you want to have any discussion on this, but what I need, or what we need, is a motion to place the sewer bond article on the 2020 warrant. So the board needs to, since the budget committee didn't support it, you need a motion to put it on the warrant, and then another motion to add that language.
Okay, so I'll start. I'm going to make the motion to place the sewer bond. I make the motion to place the sewer bond article on the 2020 warrant.
Second,
We have a motion, second. Discussion?
as written, correct,
Yes,
what we see here.
that's once you've passed on this, I just need to sign the warrant.
There's a second motion that you don't have to add language.
I have a question.
I have a question.
What happens if the police building fails but the sewer passes? Overall, we, under the bond limit, one was approved, one wasn't. The one that wasn't approved passed. Is that,
It
shouldn't matter?
no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're both passed. They don't really exceed 10% limit.
Hmm?
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, we will.
$2 million. The $2 million bond, that's 10%.
The problem came with the budget committee's
Not
recommendation.
passing. Right.
Yeah, that's where the, so we just need to make sure that if it passes town meeting, that we're covered by the 10% rule.
Pat?
I have a clarification, because you just made a statement that you have a second motion to add the language in the 10%. So I asked a question, is it as written in this new article on our warrant here, has that 10% language in here?
Yes.
So what other motion are you gonna be making to?
To add that language, what I was hoping to add that language that's already in what you see, so that I can get you to sign the warrant tonight. So it's ready to go.
So why aren't we making a motion to accept this warrant as written?
I would like to have it be clean, so that vote on the one where you voted to put the warrant, to put the bond on the warrant, and then add the language.
As previously written.
Right.
We already did that.
I'm going
I'm gonna
by,
withdraw my second. I don't understand that, why we're doing that. Go ahead, explain.
so an HMA says that this board needs to vote to approve putting the warrant, the sewer bond on the warrant, because the budget committee's not. So that's the first part.
We already did that though.
You did it before, but that was before the budget committee voted against it. So now you have, I'm just telling you.
Okay, well, we
Yeah.
voted on it, why would we have to vote again? Because the budget committee voted it down. We still voted.
I understand that, but
Okay.
that's what the recommendation of NHMA is.
Okay.
I guess it's a confirmation that you want it on the warrant. And then you vote, and then you add the language for the passage for the 10% rule.
No. Do you have a problem with that coming?
So, does anybody want to make a second for that?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion on it? Okay, so we're going to vote on the motion of, I make the motion to place the sewer bond article on the 2020 warrant. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
So, we've got three, Patsy?
I said aye.
You said aye, okay. So we've got 4-1. Okay, the next motion, I make a motion to add the following language per RSA 32:18-A at the beginning of the warrant article. Passage of this article shall override the 10% limitation imposed on this appropriation due to the non-recommendation of the Budget Committee. So that's the motion. Wait a second.
I'll second it.
So, discussion.
I have a question. So does that mean if the first bond warrant article fails, this language could be changed on the floor?
I suppose so.
It's mute after that. It would be
Right, it
mute
would no
then.
longer exceed the
Right.
10%.
Right.
And it doesn't drastically change the
Right.
spirit of the document.
Hmm?
It wouldn't change the actual warrant article. maybe,
No, but it wouldn't make sense if it was left in.
but-
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it would,
It still needs to, because.
To say, I asked it, was told no, now I'm hearing yes, I'm getting confused.
But if the other one fails,
Right.
they would no longer apply.
But the problem is the problem is with the budget committee because they
Their
voted.
budget.
it's there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so,
Close the door.
But it's our warrant article, it's not their warrant. They can vote to, wow. They can vote
I
to,
suppose we could sit and guess all night. I will ask NHMA when we're over town meeting, but I think I'd rather be safe.
oh, I don't mind doing it now, this is fine, but yeah, ask them if town meeting, I don't see why we wouldn't.
I think it's really important to have these answers all ready for us at town meeting. Whether I agree or disagree on the sewer warrant article, I think it's extremely important for the legislative body to decide on this, not the 5 of the Board of Selectmen. That's why I'm anxious to get this out into the legislative body and why it should be in the warrant article. So if you went to NHMA and said we have to have this language in there in order to put it in our warrant article, then I'll be all for it. But I think that we have to have these answers ready at town meeting.
What I'm telling you tonight is what NHMA says you need to do to make this work.
Okay?
What Catherine just asked, which
Right.
was, well, if the first article doesn't pass, do we need to keep this in? We'll have that answered by town
Okay,
meeting.
because I just heard one say yes and one say no. That's why we need to have that answer. Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
So I'm gonna pass
Abstain.
the,
And 4 ayes.
the warrant down, if you could sign it, that would be great.
You have one to sign?
Yes, those were copies. That's it relative to the sewer bond.
So this is the final warrant.
The one that's being passed
Right
out,
here,
we've got a copy.
No, I'm gonna file this one for me. I just wanna make sure it's the final one.
That number
As of
14?
today, it's the final. What?
It's like 14 draft.
Yes, 14. Last warrant.
John, that tree will, you will need to.
Never seen
Okay, thanks.
You haven't heard of the write-in?
Don't even, don't even.
it. Look, Lorraine,
The writing is
Can I go downstairs with you, Tim?
Yes.
I'm gonna go downstairs with you.
thank you, Deb.
Jeannie says, please.
Yes, thank you, Tim.
Okay, so, next thing, moving right along here. We have the selectmen's reports, and John Scanlon will start. One of the things, first thing is, we have candidates night, which is coming up on February 27th at 6 PM, so everybody can be there.
May I say something
the-
on that?
Sure.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How are we getting the candidates here? How are they being asked to come to the candidates night?
I got a letter or an invite today, and I'm running unopposed.
Yeah, you got it from Gail, right?
Yes.
I met one of the candidates yesterday and they didn't know anything about it, that's why I
It came
asked.
today.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Okay, and I guess some of the candidates night, some of the people, I'll announce who the candidates are. We have the selectmen, we have Eric Pyra, John Scanlon, Jason Wright, Stan Brown, and Lynn Marcoux. For sewer, we have Peter Fogg. For trustees,
Somebody new?
somebody new. For trustee of the trust funds, we have Jane Alden. The supervisor of the checklist is, the candidate is Judy Tilton. Budget committee, we have Catherine Dawson. Library trustee, we have Carol Corrigan. Those last ones, of course, are running unopposed. For the Winnisquam Regional School District, we have moderator Ken Finnemore from Northfield, who's running unopposed. For school board, we have Matt Stiddy from Northfield, John Silly from Northfield, Sean
It's
Goodwin.
not Matt, it's Mary.
Mary.
I'm sorry, John
Mary
Silly.
Steady.
Mary.
Steady.
Thank you. Because there is a Matt. I
Yeah.
was thinking
It's
of Matt, yeah.
It's his wife, I think. right?
Yes.
Yep.
It's
Mary.
her husband.
Yeah.
John Silly. We have Sean Goodwin from Sammerton, Dana Newt from Sammerton, and that's for school board. For school district budget committee, we have Catherine Dawson.
John, there was no one from Tilton on the school board?
No.
And we're writing in Catherine Dawson.
For school district budget committee, we have Catherine Dawson from Tilton and Caitlin Lounsbury from Northfield. And under the Tilton Northfield Fire and EMS District, we have Kent Finnemore from Northfield for moderator and Commissioner Paul Auger from Northfield.
OSHA.
Osier.
OSHA,
Running unopposed?
those are running unopposed, that's correct. So that's for, we will be having the candidates night at 6 p.m. on February the 27th, and that is up here in this room at the town hall. Chuck Mitchell will be the moderator. And so that's that. The next thing on my selectmen's report was I hadn't realized that the Historical Society was meeting Wednesday nights. So I had the opportunity, I went over there last night at the library in the Tilton School at the mansion, and it was very well attended. They were very happy to announce that they finally have their 501c3. They have $1,000 donation from I call her the Flower Lady.
Terry Snyder.
Yeah, and Mrs. Snyder left a great donation, and she truly loved the town and the history of it, and her family was very nice to do that in her name. So they did that, and one of the things they were asking me about was the statue. There are two statues, as we know, that are at the Public Works Department that were found in the basement. And one of the statues is actually in such shape that they've asked if they could put it on display here, preferably up on the stage. I talked to them about it, and they've consulted with some people who do restoring of statues and all that. And they would like to go, and they know Kevin is very busy with all he's doing. They would like to attach that to the base properly, and so it can stand up securely and be displayed at Town Hall. And I'd like to see if we could move forward and allow them to do that. No, to put it on display.
Put it on a base.
It's just the momentum that this Historical Society is, it's incredible. They've also gotten some permission to store things at the mansion and possibly open up a small museum for Tilton, at the Tilton Mansion, so that people can come through. They've talked about a lot of different things that, I mean, these guys are mobilizing very quickly for getting things done, and they're eager to ask us what things they could do.
I thought the reason we decided to have it done in-house Public Works Director was the liability issue. And if we're having an outside agency come in to attach it to our stage and it falls over, who's liable? If we have our Public Works Director do it, it's done by the town. We're covered.
Well, if
They're asking to make the base though, right? Not attach it to the stage.
make the base and secure it, and I think I think they're great stewards of the property, that they protect that, and perhaps if they do make this base and have Kevin take a look at it and assist with the installation of it, that he feels comfortable with it, that would do that.
Unless you hire an outside agency that's covered with insurance, I would advise it.
Well, he's talking about having Kevin oversee the operation or the installation altogether. But right now, we're not doing very well about getting it on a base.
No, because he's been dealing with winter.
I get that, but these people are willing to put it on the base, that's all I'm saying.
So we're gonna rush into it.
No, we're not rushing into this at all.
I don't think rushing, we've been talking about this for 6 months.
I'm just concerned about the liability, and that was the discussion we had.
Jeannie?
Just a couple things. So this board has voted once to put both statues up on the stage, and then voted once to not put them up on the stage. I think it's gone back to getting it done, but it's a process. We're trying to get this done up here, this project done up here. It doesn't make any sense, in my mind, to be bringing a historical piece of property up and putting it up until everything is done up here, because that needs to be completed. That display case was going downstairs. You've got the file cabinets being moved. This table might possibly be moved. And we had talked before about the idea that the downstairs, once all those file cabinets come up here, if that room shouldn't be the place where all the historical materials, that would be the display room for historical materials in the town. So if that's the case, wouldn't you want this, more people would see the statues downstairs, I would think, than upstairs. But that's just some of the thinking that's been going on. You remember that Chuck and Kathy Mitchell wrote that Moose Plate grant to get that long piece of that map preserved and put on display, and they want to put that down there on that wall. So I understand the frustration of the Historical Society that this has been taking probably obviously longer than they want it to take. But those are just some of the things that are going on at Town Hall. And it's not for lack of interest on, I think, on anyone's part to have it done. It's just a process.
I mean, I personally think that they're great stewards and it would be done right, and to have some people who are volunteering in the town and have a lot of background in doing this sort of thing, that to allow them to start to make the base and make that so that it's ready for it. Kevin's got a lot on his plate, and we have a lot of momentum going, in the town with the historical. And I really feel that if this was capable of being put right up there, it would be completely out of the way, and it would be of no, obstruction to anything that's going on. And it would not, get in the way of Kevin doing all of his things, because this could take 6 months before we get even, the base or the downstairs done and all that.
Hopefully it's not going to take 6 months.
But the thing with that is that if you decide to have the statues that were lying in a basement in water for how many years, if you decide to have the statues downstairs instead of upstairs after you finish your revamping and renovations that you're doing, that may change the base on what you may need a floor base rather than just a shelf base up here. It might change that a little bit. I'm 100% behind you, John. I think that I see no reason for them not to be able to start on a base, but not bring the finished product here until we finish our work here. Let us put it somewhere safely once they've completed the base, But I see no reason why they can't do that. It's a historical society. They're very meticulous about saving these statues. I mean,
They are only talking of the one statue, definitely
even
not
that
the
one
other.
even that one statue.
The other one they said is not ready for any type of displaying at this point. One of the things was, and it was brought up to me, that it should be such as on the stage or something, because it is something that if you have it downstairs, people could bump into it and damage it, or kids could, want to take selfies with it, things like that, that would do it. So it's best to be where people won't be touching it. And that's why they thought, have it on stage would be a little more protected. Peter?
How is it secured so it doesn't topple over?
It would be secured to a base, which could be secured to the stage under Kevin's
I'd just like to
oversight.
see how it's gonna be secured before I approve anything. I've got concerns someone bumps into it with their selfie and it goes over from there. No good
And
than
that's
that.
why, if they could get, go ahead to try and make the base and work with Kevin to mount it onto the stage, at least have something moving in that direction.
I said I'd like to see a plan, how it's gonna get anchored and all, because if the base isn't the way it's gonna be properly anchored, why build it? Normally we start with a plan, go from there.
I think they're very capable people. But anyway, so,
But wouldn't that, to Peter's point, wouldn't that start you in the right direction if they brought the plan for you to look at? Because you're gonna have to have a plan to build a base to begin with, right? So
I could
so
talk
at
to them,
least-
have
yeah,
do
at
some
least you're-
sketches
at least
together
you're
on how it
moving
will, and
How
some
do they
pictures.
propose
Yeah.
to base this? What are they going to do? I have no doubts about their talent and their willingness, and I'd still like to see.
I'll let them know, get some drawings and,
Mhm.
maybe some pictures of what it is,
A
the
mock-up
materials,
thing or
and
whatever.
how it would all fit together and present it to us. But it would be just the one statue. They're
Yep.
very clear on that the other one is not ready in any shape or form to be placed in the headless Indian footless. Okay, so that's other things. I think that's about it. The moderator is when we came in, still downstairs. He's been all day working on the voting, along with Kathy Mitchell and just the whole crew of people have been just putting so much time to this voting and making sure everything exactly right. It's the countless hours. We were there till about, must have been about a little bit after 9 last night, getting everything ready. So that was great. And thanks for everybody who showed up to help out and some of the great food that was brought in there. That's it for me. Next is Pat.
I just have one thing, I just wanted to congratulate Sergeant Nate Morrison on his promotion to lieutenant. And also, in March, he will have 20 years with us in the town of Tilton. So if anybody's looking at this video and you see Nate out and about in the town, congratulate him. Well done.
Okay, next is Catherine.
I just have one thing, it's basically a question. I've been planting the troth out front for, I don't know how long time. So I didn't know if you wanted me to continue, if you wanted to do something else, have other plans. The reason I'm asking is because this is the time of year that we order the plants.
Do you still have interest in doing that?
I love gardening, it's called dirt therapy. I try to engage other people, we've had other people help us in the past. I find that most people like to plant, but they don't like the weeding part.
And the watering and
Yeah,
coming down to be
yeah.
responsible for
So I
it.
don't mind doing it, but if you have other ideas or plans,
I think you've done a wonderful job. It
Well, thank
really
you.
does great things down there in front of the town hall. And I
Absolutely beautiful, stunning.
definitely like you to stay
anybody
on.
wants to help?
Oh yeah, come on down. Catherine needs to pass
The
this.
zinnias were great.
Well, like you, I love zinnias.
Yeah, they were just
And-
beautiful, all the colors, and they stayed bloom all
It
year.
is the one
Gorgeous.
planting that we've done in there that gets the most comments, so.
Yep.
Well, didn't the marigolds?
We've had marigolds, we've had geraniums, we've had all kinds, but the zinnias
That was
is
just-
one plant that everybody likes, so I think that's what we'll plant and fill it in.
Zinnias.
I say, absolutely.
All right,
Thank
Much
you for all you
you're
do.
welcome. You're welcome. I will, get those plans ordered.
And if we all of a sudden had a grand scheme or something, we would certainly talk about it. But
Absolutely, just let
I
me know.
foresee no set of circumstances that
No.
would,
I'm open to anything. I just want to make sure the
That's
plans
great.
get ordered, because
yeah.
we can get them very inexpensive.
As long as you don't cut into my candy money.
Not at all.
I knew Jeannie would love that. I know, rare
All
tonight.
right, I'm all set. Thank you, John.
And Peter?
Yeah, Tuesday, I heard a rumor that the town moderator had received a letter from the school district about a potential conflict on election day. Something to the effect that there may have been tournament games going to be played.
We wouldn't be able to set up until after 8 o'clock at night if that took place.
If we could find out, because I checked the NHIAA schedule and there's no games at that point. The games are at Keene State.
So, who did we get a?
Bob Barrett. Or Rob Barrett.
So there's some kind of a communication thing, information disparity.
I saw it.
I didn't, so.
Yeah, Chuck showed it to me.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I saw the letter.
Okay,
but
I
saw the
didn't, that's
schedule,
why I
too.
was trying to, I haven't saw it.
You got it right.
Okay. And then could we send a letter to the superintendent thanking him for allowing us to use the high school again for the past election? That's it for me.
Oh, and his janitorial staff, what a nice job they do.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
accommodating.
absolutely. Okay, I'm up next. Fishing derbies this weekend, lots of ice, lots of fun, lots of prizes. Local businessmen have stepped up. The Rotary's putting it on, and all the money goes to the Rotary programs for children.
Mac and cheese?
The mac and cheese was last weekend, except for it wasn't.
Yeah, that's why it's now the fishing derby.
Yeah, fishing derby is this weekend. I'm curious, a couple of weeks ago, we had a parking issue on Morrison Avenue, and we were going to get some answers, and so that we could send something definitive to the residents that stepped forward, and I was just wondering where that stood right now.
Hang on.
So, well, it's interesting you asked that. I have that on my report to ask you.
Oh, well,
Where are we?
we have some of the answers out of the road book, right?
We have information on the road book, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The only thing we need to ascertain is the center line of the right-of-way and where that runs to either side. The only way I know how to do that is with a surveyor. Now, how far is it going?
I don't know about that.
Is someone going to discuss now?
Well, this is my question. Jeannie was gonna ask us later in her section, so we're talking about it anyway.
Yeah, it's fine. I just wanted to know from you where, because you'll see from my report, we did get a call asking what decision has been made, if any.
Wasn't
I didn't
Officer
see that.
Gilman supposed to do some measurements for us?
If he was, I didn't hear that, and so I haven't directed him to do anything.
We need to
So,
find where the center line of that road is.
He was supposed to give some
It's
measurements.
almost redundant at this point because it is 40 feet. And I'm sure that road's center line is much less than 20 feet.
Yeah, but where is the actual center line of the right-of-way?
Well, as you said,
It's the right-of-way.
it would have to be,
The road could be way over on one side of that right-of-way.
well, so the selectmen laid it out. We never asked to. Let me see if I copied the language of it. There was a survey done. Oh, you know what, that was just the extension there, 1966, David Krause did a survey,
19 what?
96, that's all right.
He would
I went down to the
been
next.
crawling around that time.
Yes, he would have. There is a subdivision plan. on file at Belknap County, August 1900, that was filed. And that is the right date.
Not by David, though.
No. The subdivision was filed, and I've seen it on the Belknap County
When
site.
was it?
Pardon?
When was it filed?
August 1900. I have 002-0080, so I suspect that's the plan book and page.
002 dash,
0080.
We should have a copy of that. Because we need to figure where the right of way is. Just because the asphalt is where it is, doesn't mean that the center of that road is the center of the right of way and we have 20 feet on either side.
I suggest
I wanna
we
make
get
sure
Rosie
we have-
up there.
We might own a lot of those porches. And I'm not looking to mess with anybody, but I'm not willing to let people park in the right of way during a snow emergency.
so
And Chip Kraus,
Dave.
Dave?
Dave Krausy.
so is that what you'd like me to do, is get him to survey it?
You know, quite honestly, for me, we've got given information that there was parking on the west side of that house. But someone chose to turn it into a garden. Why don't we just say you need to park on the west side of the house with parking spaces? Rather than spending money on it.
I kind of sort of agree with you, but if we end up in court, we're gonna end up doing that anyway. We've got our answers.
That's a good point. So,
We gotta figure out what the center line is. I firmly believe that, because otherwise it's gonna bite us later on.
my suggestion is to get a copy, have somebody get a copy of the deed from Belknap County. Not the deed, I'm sorry, the plan, subdivision plan.
Yes.
And that's gonna give you dimensions.
So to the suggestion that it be surveyed, because I've heard that from two different selectmen to go that route, you want to get the subdivision plan instead, or do you want to get the survey done as well?
I'd rather get
No,
the survey, the subdivision plan and see what it says.
Okay.
If I still have doubts, then I might advocate for something else, but the survey plan there might answer the question.
So I can do that. So in the meantime, though, when we have snowstorms, I don't know what's happening over there now. Is there something you want to put in place temporarily, or direct the property owner, or just hope there are no problems?
My understanding is there are no problems right now, right?
I would suggest that on any plowable snow event, they are not in front of the house. They'll have to find alternative parking so that the road can get plowed within the right of way.
Do you all agree with that?
I do agree with that. There's a no parking ban.
So I will send a letter to the property owner and copy the tenant, that until we get this resolved, that when there's a snow event, they will not park in the roadway obstructing the plow. There is a winter parking ban. Yes? Okay. All right.
Could you
There was
put-
concern about the night parking
Is
too.
that a majority here?
I-
Everyone say
I-
yes?
I'm abstaining.
The three of us would suggest.
Okay.
Now, you have to talk about the night parking too, because that was the other question.
I'm not in
Yes.
favor of that because I really want it, I want the answers first before we go ahead and do that. Before we have directives.
You missed a vote.
No, sorry.
It was to have them not park up in front of their house. To park
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
I'm
street.
all for that. In a snow event.
The other thing was the night parking, because it says, the signs that say, and that was one of their concerns, was that they have to park somewhere else at night because they're in the road.
Well, that's the parking ban, right?
That only in the winter.
You just stated snow event.
Does it say snow event, or
No.
does it say no?
No.
It says no parking,
From mid-November to mid-April.
right,
November 17th to
on the
April
street,
17th.
so you're covered until that's ended.
So at this point, that they're gonna follow the parking,
There should be
the winter
signs,
parking
there's signs
ban
out there.
until we,
Are there signs out there on the street?
Morrison.
Should be on the telephone poles, they usually tack them.
Directly in front of substance. So,
Jeannie, what'd you ask?
I said, so the directive, I shouldn't say the directive, but the letter that I'll send to the property owner with a copy to the tenant is that while the winter parking ban is in effect, there will be no parking, you follow the parking ban. And in parallel with that, we'll do the research on the subdivision and see if we need to do a survey.
Could you get prices just in case to see what a survey would cost?
Yes.
If
I
it
just
shows
want to
that-
clarify something, because you just made a motion to not allow them to park during a snow event.
That is true, so I don't know if you want to
So
withdraw
you
that.
have two different topics here that you're talking about, the parking ban, and then you said the motion was not to park during a snow event.
The motion should be done.
So if you want to withdraw the motion and
Oh,
I'll withdraw.
Well, someone that's abstaining is,
I'm just making it very clear.
the dialogue is,
do we need a motion to
I
have
think
him-
Joe needs to take
I'm
over this
here.
No, let me
conversation.
make it very clear. There was a motion on the snow event. That, you guys passed it. I'm not voting on this.
I
And then
know.
you made a motion, you said that you want to enforce the parking ban. And I'm just, and not the snow event. Do you want to still stay with the snow event? And you're going to do the parking? Make sure there's both. I'm just,
Do we need a motion to have him, or everyone adhere to the winter parking ban?
I shouldn't think so. It's already a winter parking ban. There's no exception. There's no grandfathering, as far as I know.
If I park out in the street, I get a ticket.
Right. So,
Any of us would.
And I have it on every pole on Maple Court, so, I mean, if there's a sign out in front of his house, he should be getting a ticket. However, you don't know where the street ends and his begins. That's a question that we have to get answered. It appears where the seam is, but that's not so.
well, except that they measured the asphalt, and what did they come up with, 16 feet?
No,
Yes,
it's 23 or 26 in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
23 and
So, okay.
26 was
And,
the
and
numbers that
so
we got.
it's, what they laid out was 40 feet.
Correct.
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly,
When you
that's
look
what
at
it
the
shows
road,
in the subdivision
Which
as
means
well.
that would be part of the porch.
Right, and that's the
Potential.
letter that I read to you last week from CG.
Which means we really should have our answers before we answer this.
Well, so for right now, we're not gonna change anything, we're gonna say, we're gonna enforce the parking ban. In other words, if we don't say something different, it is enforced.
Should be.
It's not an alternative. Right?
Yeah, should be, I think.
I don't have an alternative.
You are saying something different when you say for snow events. You're saying something different.
I'm saying parking ban.
Well, one's saying parking ban, the other's saying snow events. The motion was to snow events.
He withdrew that.
And the parking ban is no parking on any street, so he could never park. there.
Midnight to 6 a.m., I believe.
Yeah, you couldn't park there ever. The snow event means if it snows, you move it. And then we figure out where the line actually is and then force it accordingly. That's my idea.
Right.
So I'm not sure you need to make a motion if you've already got a winter parking ban. So at this point, what I will do, unless you tell me otherwise, is send a letter to the property owner with a copy to the tenant that says the winter parking ban is enforced now. That's it.
Send them a copy of that ordinance, so they know what it is that's being enforced.
And in the meantime, after I do that, I will get that subdivision plan from Belknap County, and I will get prices on what it would cost to survey. Have I captured it?
Yeah, but I have like an addendum, sort of. I like everything that you've talked about, but can we, apparently this is not the only person who's subject to parking on the street necessarily, is my understanding. Maybe we should, as opposed to just sending it to one person, send it to everybody on the affected street? Nah, because they already know the signs are there, and you take your chances if you park in the wrong place. I know, I've been told. Not here, but
All right, I think I have my marching orders.
No candy at that parade,
No kidding.
for marching.
So that was under Selectman Jessman, who took part of my report. That's okay.
I like to be able to partner it up with you on something. I'm done, that was it for me.
Hooray,
No, sure.
nice job.
That was almost a Catherine style one. I have one issue with 12 different parts. Look, Kevin. It is.
You're still.
You still want to
I
plant the
haven't
plants?
started that. Joe,
I'm done.
And now,
Now for
the
the,
weekly update from Jeannie Forrester.
all right, thank
our
you.
town administrator.
Thank you. So we've already addressed the final warrant under the first action item. Second is the update on the Tilton Northfield Island. I met with the Deputy Town Administrator in Northfield to find out about putting together a meeting of the two boards to discuss the conveyance of the Tilton Northfield Island. She gave 3 dates possible. They're on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock in the evening. She gave 2/26, 3/11, or 3/18. And they also requested that it be non-public, which I believe that it can be. So my question to you is, I'd like to do it on 3/18 at 5 o'clock. We need at least 3 selectmen, all preferably, but can we try to schedule that?
You can do that.
Yeah, because we're not on vacation.
Yeah, 3/11 is,
Right after the town
Right.
meeting and before the Saturday.
right,
2/26, Peter and I are on vacation.
oh,
Together?
Yeah.
You didn't know?
Yeah,
Outstanding.
well, certainly I can
we're
try.
taking surplus and
Selectmen's conference.
going to Costa Rica.
I mean, certainly I
Want to go,
can,
Jason?
I can try on 2/26.
I'm hoping I'll be on board for the meeting.
Works better for you.
226?
Yeah, I just need to.
School vacation week.
I need to check with the attorney to see if he's available. I've been waiting to hear back from him. So do we want to try for 2/26?
Quicker the better for me, but I'm available anytime that you need me on that day.
I thought you
I
wanted
can
the
do any of
18th.
those dates.
I do, but you two are available on the 26th.
No.
At what
I'll be
time?
writing my speech the 26th for candidates night.
5 o'clock? 5 o'clock on the 18th?
Five.
Good job.
So 5 o'clock on the 18th.
How many minutes do I get? A half hour?
Sounds good. 5 p.m. to 18.
5 p.m. on the 18th.
I'll
Right, then
send you
try
an
it.
email. So the,
Yeah, where is that gonna be?
Of a shot.
I'd like to try to look it here.
Okay.
All right, so my third item is a quote from J.P. Carter. If you recall, he asked to have lighting put on the school street side of the building. He gave me a quote for $1,593. That quote included a fixture over the northern door, replacing a fixture over the side entrance, and adding a new light on the northern corner of the building. Apparently,
Where's the northern door?
It'd be
it's the,
the second one out here.
Yeah.
On School Street.
Oh, the one we don't use.
Yes.
so I called him back and I said, thanks for the quote, but I only asked for one light, so, you know, why? And he said that I'll read you the description. It says, in order to properly illuminate the walk from the back town hall parking lot to the town hall, we need to install the light high enough so it will be out of the sight line of oncoming traffic off of School Street. When we do that, we will not offer the proper illumination to the area of the town hall and road immediately in front of the side building. That area will still be a dark area. I have spec'd out a fixture that would take care of the space, and after having a discussion with Catherine and looking at the fixture that is above the current main entrance of the side door, I noticed that fixture is not meant for that use, and I thought matching the fixture with the side door will not only be effective for that area, but would also be aesthetically correct. The power is present at those locations, so the labor cost is not high and the fixtures were reasonably priced. I'd asked him to tell me what it was gonna cost with just the one light, and he said it would basically reduce the price by $245. So instead of 3 lights for $1,500 and change, it'd be $1,300 and change for one light. So it's
Why does he want to put one on the north door?
basically what he's saying is that you need all those lights configured in such a way to give the illumination that's required, that for safety purposes. So I wanted to find out what you'd like to do.
I want to do it.
I just want to remind you that if you install lights near those cameras, it'll make it so the cameras will not work at night.
Oh.
Hmm.
Why didn't you say that before she gave her rendition?
Didn't you like Karen's?
So where's the
Because they
camera?
don't like to
Where's the
interrupt people
camera
while they're
going?
talking.
I'll have to ask, Tim about that. I don't know.
The other thing is we'd have to get some bids, on this because it's a lot of money for.
Over 1,500.
Can I ask a question on lighting? It doesn't have anything to do with town hall, but I remember a conversation that we had not too long ago about lighting, and I'm just wondering where that is. Now, I was driving last night in about 7 o'clock downtown, and when you get to where Panilla's building is, the crosswalk, there were people trying to get across the walkway, and you could not see them because of the lighting that was down further from the poles. It casts such a dark, a shadow. You can't see people going across the crosswalk because it was so dark. And I thought we had spoken about that earlier in the fall, last fall, about getting the crosswalk centers with the flashing light or a light that was, the pedestrian walking for that one in the T-Hop. Because T-Hop is a little bit of, a slight more illuminated than this area is. This was very, very dark. They almost got hit. There was 5 of them.
The chief was looking into that.
I'll have to ask him.
I gave him.
And how does that play out with plowing? Just plow around it, or that makes a thing of snow in the middle of the road?
Not sure.
I'm just curious, because I don't know, in the wintertime.
What I gave the chief, that was, I guess it was 2017, I think, but I gave it. The flashing pedestrian lights that I had looked at
Mhm.
are at the beginning of the sidewalks, but,
We talked about
I
that.
mean crosswalks by the sidewalks. I
Yeah.
think I showed you
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
So the pedestrian goes up, pushes it that way, this light, well, the pedestrian crossing just,
Isn't
Lights
that
spinning all
what we're applying for grants for that even as we speak?
I think that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
We'd have to ask.
Identified several different
So
places,
that's where I
including those two.
remember it then, that's why we're doing that.
And,
Could we include that area? Because that is very dark.
Crosswalk across from the park. Or the proposed
Yeah.
crosswalk, I
I
should.
knew we were applying for a grant for that area for a light. But downtown, you can, if there's parking along, in the parking spaces across from the church, in front of the bookstore or Panulo's building, the restaurant, not the restaurant, but the hair salon, in that, right down in front of Rescue Lane, you cannot see people coming across the crosswalk at all in the dark. And maybe a street light would help in that area. There's not a street light there.
I think there's a proposal to put streetlights all the way down that side, on one side, at least one side of the street currently.
So what I understand is we want to look at the whole lighting of the downtown area. And the Carter thing would be, we gotta decide what we want and get it.
Well, so
Request.
what I heard you say was that I need to find out what's going on with the camera and how that will be impacted by the light. And since it's over $1,500, I need to get 2 more quotes.
Well, we usually use J.P. Carter as a sole source.
$1,000.
No,
I mean, the Board of Selectmen has contracted with people with well over $1,500
I thought
without getting other bids.
we made a motion to increase it to 2,000, remember?
But even
To
so,
what?
we have
2,000.
signed contracts
I missed that.
without going out to bid,
They can spend up to 2,000 without getting.
and it was well over $2,000.
Am I wrong?
I don't know,
Won't be the first time.
but like I said, we usually use J.P. Carter as the sole source.
That is
He
true.
is-
He does all the electrical work
He
that I
knows
know
that
of
When
anyway,
we were
currently.
switching around with electricians, we started to run into problems.
Major problems
One
in town hall.
electrician.
Yeah,
Another
we almost had an
electrician
electrical
comes
fire up there,
Yep. On the stage.
and Mr. Carter came to fix
Personally,
it.
I think $1,500 to install 2 light fixtures is a lot of money.
It
That's,
seems like
and that's why I,
I think that was for 3.
3, yeah. And there's already power out there. So
Not on the corner.
I didn't even know we were doing this. My thoughts were that we were talking about having some lights in that parking lot that's lit where the employees are, not the street.
No, we were gonna
No,
put a
on
light
the corner.
on the corner facing towards the parking lot, and that's
Yep.
why I said when I got the quote and there were 3 lights, I called him and I said, well, I only asked for 1. And his response back was, that 1 light will not light up, illuminate what you're trying to achieve, which is a safety for, folks leaving town hall and walking back to that parking lot because of the alley there. And you have to point 1 light in a certain direction because you can't point it in the direction of the oncoming traffic, so that was his reasoning.
When he was in my office, he asked me about it, I said, well, seemed a little confused. I just said, well, whatever you do, because he talked about the light over the door down here.
Right, we leave it up to him, I
And
mean,
I
he's the
said, just
master.
make sure whatever you do, you can pull out the others.
Well, to John's point, and I guess maybe that's
Just need
where
to ask him.
I'll start, is let's find out how that's gonna impact the camera, because certainly you don't want to put lights up and then you can't use the camera. So let me check into that and I'll come back to you.
Sounds great.
All right. And you see the FYI. I think that's it for me.
Okay.
Other business.
Okay, so next thing is other business. So we have a couple people here.
This budget is this the final budget
Yes.
with the corrections in it?
Yes.
I hope so.
This week it is.
We have Mr. Olson is here. We want to meet with us.
Projector by chance?
Say what now?
Do you have a projector by chance?
The LCD projector, that's normally sitting back there.
Tim didn't know what it was, he said to ask us when.
Where usually is it?
It's there all the time.
Is this the
Is
final
it on a shelf in there? Behind there?
It's locked.
Is this?
I wouldn't have any idea how to get into
Tim's
it.
in the
So
planning
this is
office.
public.
Yes.
I was gonna see if we were gonna go non-public or not, we did mention offices.
If you're talking about employees, then you.
Well, it's not talking about employees directly, but I figured,
It-
just in case, it applies, because it's a small office.
Well, then we need to go into non-public if we're gonna talk about personnel.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about personnel, we have to go into non-public. We have two other people here. I just want to make sure that if they.
Just here to warm up the room.
Doing a heck of a job, thank you so much.
Thank you for
It's
coming.
heated anyway.
Yeah, really.
So do we have the projector though, or know where that might be?
Let's see, we can get,
Sure,
check through.
but we were making a vote first.
Well, my question was, there's two other people other than Mr. Olson that is here, for the non-public. Do they have anything else? Because I don't want them to,
No, but I have a couple projectors at home, so, but, you know, I'm not
Sweet.
gonna,
If we'd known this before, we
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
called you.
I'm not invited, so, you know, whatever.
Everybody's invited, Jason.
Not to a non-public.
Oh, no, not for a non-public.
well, perhaps after March you will be.
Who knows?
You won't.
That's a problem.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, at this time we have no idea where the projector is.
Is there any way I can email it maybe to everybody, and everyone can pull up their tablet maybe, just slideshow first?
Sure.
What's the board's email? Board of Selectmen at tiltonnh.org?
Yes.
Board of Selectmen, all that's one word, except for the .org.
Are we,
Got everything here for us.
We're going to do non-public, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion that we go into non-public per RSA 91A:3, paragraph 2, A. Is that A or is it C? C is reputation of a person, and A is dismissal, promotion,
What is
or
selectmen?
compensation.
So what was
I
the-
don't really know.
What is selectmen?
Because you,
C or A.
I had sent you an email and asked you to tell me which one it was,
Okay,
and I
cool.
didn't get that back,
Okay,
so I don't know.
for, which one? I'm sorry, I'm confused. I
Would
was
be
trying to send the board a slide.
A is dismissal, promotion, compensation, public employee disciplining, investigation, any charges, unless,
I think it'll be easier.
or see if matters discussed in public would adversely affect the reputation.
See,
You see?
Second. Constantino, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Fogg, yes.
Kesselman, yes?
Scanlon, yes.
We are red means record. At this time, 7:25, I'd like to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to reputation, personnel, and potential legal action, permanently.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now, John, now, motion to adjourn
Second.
Yes.
Meeting
Aye.
aye.
At
Meeting
7:25 and a
adjourned
half.
at 7:25.